It's a combination as old as time. A naive and oblivious boy nearing the apex of adolescence, a longtime friend whose feelings go unrecognized, and a bombastic new entrance that sweeps him off his feet. The classic love triangle. Yet, so much more often than not, I find myself far more attached emotionally to the childhood friend than to anyone else. Even if they're not the right one, they're the one I end up rooting for. Despite the fact that though they have their defenders, they are definitely in the minority of popularity compared to the often much more exciting new girl. So, with that thought on my mind, I set to contemplating why. Why is it that this archetype is so compelling to me? Surely it's more than just an underdog complex, but I guess that's as good a starting point as any other. If you've seen a few of these types of shows, you've kind of seen them all, in the sense that they tend to share very clearly defined story structure and character types. So going into any one of these, I can usually say with fairly high certainty that I know the childhood friend's feelings will go unreciprocated. Even if you haven't seen a ton of them, it's generally fairly obvious presentation-wise. Even just how the characters are framed in promotional material tells you pretty much what you're gonna get. I think that this immediate understanding causes me to already start empathizing with them, even before the stronger emotional moments, which of course results in my deeper investment in them specifically. Beyond that though, I think the childhood friend speaks to something a bit deeper than the surface level. I often use the argument that I simply prefer the dynamic between the childhood friend and main character as my reasoning why I think it should have gone a different direction. Their interactions are usually more natural, lighthearted, feel more real. And while I still stand by all those, I think there's an underlying facet that has been left unexplored. The desire for the familiar, for something homely, in a good sense. The childhood friend often represents that comfort zone, which is then broken by the entrance of the primary romantic figure. They care about the main character, but often lack a sense of resolve to be forthright with their feelings. This desire to keep the comfort zone, keep the status quo, for fear of something changing, is precisely what leaves them behind. I think we all can agree, at the least I can, that we do so often long for something in our lives that stays the same. So much that could be improved is often left undone because of this desire for a sense of familiarity, that the devil I know is better than the one I don't. The childhood friend evokes a strong emotional response in me in two ways. First, from the side of the protagonist, as I described, where she represents a kind of home, unchanging and comforting, and how my own longing for that sense of home draws me closer to the childhood friend. But in another way, the childhood friend reflects so much of my qualms towards myself. They're stationary, hoping nothing changes, even as much as they deeply desire for change, because they're too afraid of what their actions might bring. They've let this one desire too deeply consume them for it to be achieved, which you often see contrasted in them having a true passion, be it a sport or craft or whatever, something that really reflects themselves, rather than this idealized image of romance that is destined to be unrealized. In their rejection, then, is how they come to terms with themselves and start living life for themselves, not anyone else. This growth often marked by them finally properly confessing, even when they recognize that the main character will not reciprocate. This is an arc that I can relate to, sympathize with, and by way of both, really reflect on myself, consciously or subconsciously. The childhood friend stands as a stark reminder, putting glasses up without the rosy tint. They aren't the main character. This isn't their story, their romance. Just the same, we don't always get what we want, because as much as we like to turn our life into a narrative, the only one who sees it that way is us. That's why you can't sit there waiting for something to change, for a beautiful girl to fall from the sky, or for some fantastical isekai. The only one who's going to make your story real is you. The only one who's going to realize my dreams is, well, me. What they are, what they represent, and what they remind me about myself. That's why I love the childhood friend. Thank you for watching. I know that not everything I discuss in here can be applied to every single instance of the archetype. This is more some general observations. Of course, there's going to be, a little bit of differences here and there. I want to give a special thank you to my patron Talon for his generous support, and if you'd like to help me keep doing what I do, please support me on Patreon at patreon.com/corereviews. Thank you again so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.